to the Sports Mom Playbook.
Welcome to the Sports Mom Playbook, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes with real moms and industry experts for all things sports to help you start or make more use of your time on and off the field.
Get ready for this binge-worthy podcast with some special guest appearances. Laugh along and join us in what we love doing, celebrating the true MVPs of the game, moms.
Let's do this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sports Mom Playbook podcast. My name is Rachel.
Hi, and I'm Yuritsa.
And we are so happy to be here today. We always appreciate you guys listening in and giving back feedback as to what you want to hear and what you want to see on the podcast.
Yeah.
And Yuritsa has a very special guest announcement
We
for
do
us.
have a special guest coming on the podcast today. Her name is Ellin Gurvitch. She's a licensed mental health counselor and certified nutrition and performance coach. Hi, Ellin.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for fitting us into your busy schedule. We love what you do, and we love the opportunity for you to come on here. And why don't you just give us a little background about yourself and what you do, and let's get to know you a little better.
Awesome. So, hello, everyone. I'm Ellin. I am a licensed mental health counselor in New York and in Florida, and I'm also a certified nutrition and performance coach. I blend a lot of sport and performance psychology into my counseling and a lot of mental skills work that you see in sports psychology when working clinically with kids, parents, even entrepreneurs, people in business, because everything you take from sports is a lifestyle. It's a mindset. When you push through those hard reps as an athlete, if you're in the gym, what can you take from that into life? So that's the approach I take. It's a little different than most therapists, but I grew up being an athlete, and I saw tremendously how being an athlete changed my mental health and my outlook on life.
Well, we love that, and I think having the background to be an athlete, I think it's a very specific thing. I also love that you work with a wide variety of athletes on a day-to-day.
Oh, absolutely. And I even call people who aren't like professional athletes. Like if you're working a 9 to 5, like you're a mom working a 9 to 5, balancing a busy schedule, cooking, like maybe you're not an athlete, but you are an athlete.
We are athletes.
Like,
We love that.
We are our own athletes.
You're fit as anything. Like,
I
let's
love
be
that.
real.
So
No,
cute.
it's so true.
It
It's so
is.
true. And I think we started this business because we wanted to, have the positivity, because there can be a lot of negativity related to sports. And my personal journey that I've had with my son, sports has been really our saving grace. Not only for his mental health, but his body image and all of those things. And what are things that you see? Like, what would be an ideal patient for you? Maybe someone that you need to help with that's an athlete, because you work with such a big, wide variety.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I work with a lot of perfectionism, fear of failure, anxiety, imposter syndrome related to academics, sports, social life. Many young female athletes also face significant mental health challenges related to body image or disordered eating. So I focus on that. And
Yeah.
that's
What is the biggest struggle that you see youth today struggling from that list that you just shared?
I would say the anxiety
Okay.
and then the body image, disordered eating, especially for like young athletes and young girls.
Yeah.
A lot of these challenges stem from pressure and feel of failure and societal norms,
Mm-hmm.
media influences, especially like pressures in the sports environment. A lot of athletes mainly tie a lot of their self-worth to their athletic performance, believing that
Yeah.
their value is solely on their achievements and results. And this is a mindset that really impacts your mental and physical health. So that's a lot what I work on with youth athletes, but also with like parents and how to be there for your kids during that time, and how could you respond to them and respond to situations like this.
Yeah, I think that's so important too, because there's different levels of athletes, right? Like there's, where you have fostered basically your athlete and you're sending them off to college. And a lot of parents have that assumption like, oh, well, once they get the scholarship and they're off, like my job is done. And that seems to be not the case, right?
Oh, that's not the case. You're
Her
always a
face.
parent.
Yeah.
You're always a role model.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that something where like parents could reach out to you and say like, hey, is there an opportunity for you? Because, once when they're with that scholarship opportunity, they not only have to keep up with the grades academically, but then they have to perform. Like it's a whole nother level of like stress and anxiety.
A whole nother level. And if there's stress for the individual, the child, but also stress on the parent
Right.
as well.
So how do you even begin addressing that as a counselor?
Mm. So first with parents, it's really important to model healthy behavior. So always talking about maybe your experiences of failure and growth, sharing a time when you worked hard without immediate results and how to stick to the process, practicing self-care and resilience, see like modeling to your kids that maybe you're exercising, you're meditating, when you're taking a walk and feeling overwhelmed, or being like, hey, you're showing your kid, I'm feeling angry. I'm just gonna walk away for a second, but we'll have this conversation when I feel more calm and collective.
That's good
Yeah.
advice.
That's really good advice. I have to
Simple,
probably
but it's
practice
so
that a
good.
little bit more.
Yeah.
Because even as an adult, like I never will understand kids, when I see parents or health, anything in healthcare, like sometimes people get really frustrated with kids' behavior and it's like, well, I wish I could act and like throw a tantrum. Like I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, and sometimes people forget there's a lot of emotions that these kids are experiencing. And as an adult, sometimes you've learned how to manage that, whether that's like through therapy, on your own, reading self-help books and things of that nature. You have to have those conversations with your kid. And I think the fact that you brought up like modeling it is really, really important for sure.
Yeah. Even like to piggyback off that, I encourage youth athletes to view stress as a natural response to challenges. Even this is a mindset shift for adults too. So when we work on reframing those thoughts and turning I'm nervous into I'm excited for the opportunity, my nerves are telling me how much I care. That is such good information.
Oh, yeah.
You've trained for this.
Yeah.
And then you could practice breathing exercises and pre-performance rituals that can also be powerful tools to help you regulate those nerves.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's my kid is watching this episode 100%. Just
I mean,
everything you
I'm
just
taking
said.
into therapy for myself because I have a stressful job and I'm just like constantly like on edge sometimes. And I sometimes, looking back at my childhood, I feel like my mother was like that too. I love you, Mom, if you're listening. I really do. But she was stressed out a lot. And it does kind of reflect to your kid, like, how do you handle that stress? And I think going back to your point, just knowing that you have prepared for this and you were made to, overcome whatever struggles that you're worried about or take those nerves into something positive, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think anybody, parents, children, everybody can learn from those techniques.
Oh, absolutely. Now, another thing I see often sometimes is even with young athletes, they're used to maybe sometimes performing at a higher level. And then if they don't meet what their expectations are in their head, they break down. They make one error on the field and then they're broken down. Like, what do you recommend maybe to some parents? Like, what are some good conversations to maybe have with that child? Or even if a coach is listening in right now, what are some ways to, help them mentally overcome that obstacle that, okay, it's just one mistake. It's not the whole game. Let's move past this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is something I see often too. So I really like this model. I call it your inner ape. This is the only thing you can control. Your attitude for A, P, preparation, E, effort. So when you focus on that in life and in sports, there are factors that athletes and individuals can control, like players' reactions or referees or outcomes, but what they can control is their attitude, preparation, and effort. So reflecting on your game or that practice, did I bring my best effort today? How did I respond to that challenge or setback? So confidence also grows when athletes realize that their successes depends on their commitment to the process and also their ability to stay present and not fixated on the uncontrollable parts.
Yeah, I mean,
So this
that's
is important for coaches to keep in mind too. How are you even praising, the athletes?
Yeah. Have you ever seen or had a case where you were dealing with a child that was dealing with a really rough coach, whether the coach was like really hard on them? And I look at your face, it seems like yes. um and that's sad to
So
see.
common.
How do you, yeah, and I'm sure it happens a lot. So how do you navigate that? How do you prepare your kids to either address it, or even as a parent, how do you talk to the coach or talk to your kid about situations like that? Because that added pressure and stress, I mean, we've talked about it many times when there's kids and they're hearing everyone yelling and talking and screaming from the stands. Like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that it's
Loaded.
also really hard for a parent not to be like so defensive and reactive. Like
Yeah.
that coach is screaming at my kid, like I'm going all,
Mama bear.
mama bear. We
Guilty.
said
yes.
at the same time.
Guilty. I know. Guilty.
Yeah, it's so valid. I would say a really what I like to do you want like what I tell the kids or like with
I think
parents?
both. I think it's
Yeah.
nice to hear
Both?
both
Yeah,
sides of
whatever.
it.
Yeah.
So moments after the game, it's really important to reflect with your child in the car ride home. What are you talking about with them? So ask open-ended questions. How did you feel about that interaction with your coach? What was the most challenging part for you? Like focus on the process of it instead of jumping to like conclusions about how they're feeling, and support them with how they're feeling and validate their feelings and validate their effort and let them know it's okay to feel angry and sad and not frustrated. Um, and you can even share, I feel that with you. What is an action we could take together?
Hmm. So make sure you kind of talk it through with
Collaborate.
collaborate. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're also like modeling to your child that it doesn't have to be confrontation, it's collaboration. So when you're going to the coach, it's although you want to attack
Oh my
them,
gosh.
girl or man, like so there are a lot of female coaches now, so I don't want to say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
him. But it's collaboration with the coach. That, and also how you talk to the child, to the athlete, is also how they're going to perform.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure, so your words really matter. Um, with when I work with, I'm thinking of one client I had who she was a track athlete, and the coach was really tough, and she was really trying really hard, and we focused on what he was telling her as information, and not getting so tied to the words or the tone. And then also developing her own mantras. What is she saying to herself? Like during training, before, after, those phrases are so important.
Yeah. That's good advice.
No, I think that's great advice. And, from a parent perspective, I think it's hard because some coaches, they either have like good reputations, they have bad reputations. And obviously, you foster this like environment with your kids where some people have access to them and the things that they say. So, and this may be not like necessarily age appropriate for our kids, but like if their kids are older, do you recommend them reaching out to the coach and saying, hey, this really upset me how you spoke to me? Like, what are the conversation maybe for like high school or college level athletes to have healthy conversations with their coaches and their performance?
Yeah, I love how you're bringing this up because it's so important for at a young age high school athletes and students and kids to understand how to communicate and not just like avoid the issue. Oftentimes we avoid hard things. We avoid that hard conversation. But there's so much you could take by Like being an athlete is so hard. Pushing through those reps, they burn. But what could you take from that mentality that you could take to life? That hard conversation, it's going to burn, but what's the outcome of it? You're going to win the game. You're going to win the conversation. So yeah, definitely modeling to your kids, even like practicing with them, like let's go over the conversation. What do you want to say? Um, but having the high school students and college students to advocate for themselves,
Yeah.
because that is a life skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That
It's
is
not
a
just for
life skill.
sports. Yeah. It is a
It's
life
not just
skill.
sports, it's life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's one thing that we've realized when we started this is that there's a lot of things that you can gain in sports that are so positive, that correlate into a day to day, that help these kids
Yeah.
for long term, not only have healthy relationships, but excel in a career in whatever that looks like for them.
Yeah.
Right.
How to push themselves, overcome,
Yeah.
reach goals. I mean, yes, I agree. I think that sports has a huge influence in a child, and I think it's a positive one for sure.
I agree too. I have actually a lot of experience in my clinical in grad school. I worked at Fordham University as a counselor. So I was working with like all the student athletes and I was helping them find jobs after college. And we really focused on like what could you take from your sports that you could bring into the workforce. And it is like even there is an identity crisis even.
Well,
Like
how
what can I
so?
I've always been tied to my sports and my ability to be good. Like I'm the starter, I'm the captain. And then maybe when you go into the workforce, you don't have a big role all the time. You're not being praised all the time. And although maybe you feel like you do have a growth mindset and that resilience as an athlete, but it's hard to mentally have that in every other aspects of your life. So how could you train your mind to be sharp like that
Yeah.
athlete in the workforce? Like your brain is a muscle. Just like you would need to work on those biceps to grow, to push through that, you
Yeah.
still have to work for your mind to grow.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I actually wanted to get into this little thing that was sent into us, and I think it'll touch base a little bit on here, and wanted to get your perspective. So I'm going to read this. And this is a what would you do? And this is we're going to have to input as moms,
Yeah.
and then we're going to have our professional
Opinion.
licensed opinion. Okay, so it says, my son plays 10U select travel ball and has been playing since he was 4 years old. He has always been so into it. And well, yesterday he told me the words that every parent dreads. Mom, I do not want to play baseball anymore. When I asked him why, he shrugged his shoulders and said, I just don't want to play anymore. Do I let him quit? I mean, I have all the baseball gear under our Christmas tree as we speak that he literally begged us for. Am I wrong for wanting to make him stay in it and stick it out? I've gone back and forth. Any positive feedback would be greatly appreciated. I see this often.
Yeah.
This is a very consistent conversation that I see within parents. My son has been in baseball since 4. That's really the only sport. We're starting to dabble in others. You invest so much time, money. I think I would be literally I think I would have to take a step back away from the conversation and make sure I wasn't forcing him to do it for my own.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we've been doing this for so long. And this, again, like how you were talking about the identity. Reading that, you can hear like almost the fear in that mom's. She literally said, I dread it. So, Ellin, what would you suggest to a parent that the kid is coming and having that conversation? What's like a good starting point?
A good starting point would be ensuring that you have a team behind you. So I would say making sure maybe you're working with a sports psychologist, a certified nutrition coach, a mental skills coach, like making sure you have a team behind you. The second step is validating your child. I understand this is challenging. You don't want to play anymore. It's hard. And then open up to a conversation. And if you need to step away, like that is okay. It makes sense. That's a very challenging conversation. I also oftentimes I'll have my clients keep like a confidence jar about their sport where they write down accomplishments, no matter how small or big. And this is like their library of their athletic performance. It doesn't have to be called a confidence jar, performance jar. And in times like this that are so challenging and feel overwhelming, we go back to the jar, like what's in there? What could we pull out?
Yeah, I feel like that conversation would be really rough. My approach would be like, I want to know what the source, like what's causing you to feel that way, and
Mm-hmm.
bringing those
Yeah.
emotions out of the child, right? If
Mm-hmm.
Brayden walked up to me and was like, Mom, I don't want to play baseball or football or whatever sport he's playing, I would be like, why? What happened? What's going on? And have
Right.
it from that
Mm-hmm.
approach. I can understand that mother's feeling of like dreading, like you said, the money, the time, the energy, but finding out like why. There's a reason why you don't want to play, and I want to know why. Was it another kid was
Yeah.
being mean to you? Was it the coach said something to you? Is it that you just don't care for it anymore? Which is kind of hard, especially him playing. I guess the kid was playing since age of 4.
Right.
But the why behind it, and then
Mm-hmm.
get to that source. I feel like that's the best a way to approach it, I'm sure, as a parent. And, instead of stepping away from the conversation of like the initial shock, because it's
Mm-hmm.
shocking, and then having that heart to heart with your kiddo and be like, hey, bud, like what's going on? Let's sit, let's talk, like have that open dialogue. I think that's so important to have with your kiddos,
Yeah.
and have them be able
So
to trust
important.
you to have that tough conversation.
Yeah, because like you said before, Ellen, like these conversations are hard, and sometimes kids don't want to always share, you know? So from an athlete perspective, like you talked about the confidence jar, what are some other things that they could do to create a positive self narrative for themselves?
The visualization, the mantras, the positive self narrative, visualizing, performing well, your pre-race rituals. What's it going to feel like when you get that goal? The emotions, maybe the sensations, and all those things create a better like view of yourself and more confidence. The mantras really, I love mantras. One of my favorite is that I say to myself is this is what I train for. I'm capable. If you train for something, you could do it, but oftentimes our nerves come in because we don't know the outcome. But if you just like trust your ability, trust your practice, and then you're present during the game and you're just focusing on enjoying and having fun, performance just flows.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I
Yeah.
think sometimes they sometimes just really focus on the performance and they forget the having fun part.
Yeah. There's actually a concept in sports psychology called me. It goes motivation and enjoyment. So what we do, there has to be a sense of motivation, yes, but also enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to like playing your sport every day, you're not going to perform well.
Yeah. You can see it.
But
You
if
can
you
sense
like
it.
it, yeah, if you like it and you relieve some of the pressure, you're going to perform really well. Even like when I work with clients and balance getting into a gym routine, don't run if you don't want to run.
Okay.
Find something that's fun.
Yeah.
Find something that's fun.
Yeah.
Because if you want to see progress, if you want to stick to your routine, it needs to be fun. Your behavior is coming from somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true.
So now what would you suggest, like, because I think everything you're saying is beautiful, impactful. As a parent that is, has athletes, what would you suggest would be a good age to maybe incorporate a performance coach? Because now, because when we're talking about performance, I'm using that term like as a loose, because it could be academically, it could be in sports. I mean, so what do you think would be a good age, or maybe some red
Yeah.
flags that a parent would see. They'd be like, hey, maybe I need to incorporate a professional to like help my kid. I'm not really reaching them as I would want to.
Yeah.
It's so situational, but I think noticing the behaviors of maybe I need to include a professional. If you're seeing behaviors like avoidance, they don't want to go to practice, they're complaining. Um, Maybe they're making like every excuse not to go. They don't look like they're having fun. If you're seeing they're extremely anxious, or even if after the game or practice, they look sad, you just like know your child best. You're
Yeah.
noticing they're not being them. That's when to incorporate someone. Um, I do think high school is always a good age and time, because if you want to play in college, like it's definitely important to have a team behind you. And especially if you want to go to D1 school, that's also like having that support system in your back pocket's really important.
Yeah. I mean, Ellin, you have brought in so much amazing insight today. Like, just overall, like, it's just like crazy to know that these are things that we need to prepare our kids for. Like you said, creating a team is so important. And our kids are still really young. But I do feel like it's great to just be aware of what we need to do to prepare the best for our kids. I mean, ultimately, that's what we want to do as moms and as parents and just in general. So,
Yeah. I also think there's sometimes a negative connotation with like therapy,
oh, yeah.
right? Because
Totally.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
people are like, oh, I think everyone should go to therapy. I do. And it's helpful.
I
It
think
is
so.
helpful. And I think, like you said, and what we've all pretty much agreed with here is that you can always grow. There's always room for growth, and there's always room for healthy conversations. But
Mhm.
kids need to be privy sometimes to those conversations, to talk about their feelings, to help them navigate life. I
Yeah.
mean, us as adults, we need it, you know?
I mean, I feel like this session with Ellin was
So-
amazing. This was great. I learned a lot from myself too. I mean, yeah, I'm like a perfectionist, like all the things. So I a lot of good things I came from this conversation with you for sure.
I'm always here to support you, lady. I love what you do. I've listened to your podcasts already,
Aw,
and
thanks.
it is just so inspiring. And both of you are athletes.
Aw,
Thank you.
thanks.
The mom, we're the
You're
mom
fit as
athletes.
anything.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
Now, I wanted to talk one more question before we like maybe get into some more. But what are some stories or maybe some memorable moments that you've experienced while working with young athletes on their mental health and performance?
I worked with a soccer player one time, and they were having a lot of performance anxiety for the game, like literally heart racing, shaky legs, really feeling overwhelmed without going onto the field. And this is a common symptom.
Yeah.
And her anxiety wasn't just about winning, it was a fear of letting her team down, making mistakes, feeling like she wasn't good enough. So after a few sessions, we focused on like mindfulness and developing her personal pregame ritual. And we would just like draft these powerful phrases that like, I'm capable and I'm prepared. And every time that doubt crept in, and we would rehearse like, how do you know when the doubt's there? She would silently repeat those mantras in her head. And the more she said it, the more she believed it. And this would ground her. It would ground her thoughts and reinforce that she is capable. You trained for this. I am prepared. So incorporating like mantras and pregame rituals is really important. And then the visualization exercises, she would mentally rehearse playing the critical plays in her head before. And how could she communicate with her teammates and her coaches? So these were key factors that helped change her mindset and belief about herself, and she developed more resilience.
Yeah. It's so crazy the power of your mind and the mindset that you have and how it is literally the key to everything. The way that you think about your day to day, the way you handle situations, how you present yourself confidently. Like what Ellin is saying is like, it's crazy how the mind just really messes with you if you don't have it
Oh yeah.
straight. Like, it's crazy.
Yep.
But that seed of doubt can really ruin an athletic player.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It ruins careers, it ruins relationships, it ruins a lot of things if you don't have it, find people to help support you navigate through those tough times that you're struggling, or
Yeah.
even be like aware enough, or say, hey, put shame aside and be like, hey, I need help. Something's going on. I need help. And
Yeah.
reaching out to those that, you can know and trust to talk about it.
Yeah. Have you ever had to
Yeah.
deal with like a patient that maybe is experiencing not pressure from the coach, but maybe from like a parent that is trying
Beyond.
to
I mean,
fulfill something? Is that really, do you see that often?
Like their
that's
kid's
the most
dream.
common,
Really?
honestly.
A parent wanting to like
Yeah.
relive their own dreams through their child.
Yes.
I feel like that's the worst, because maybe the kid doesn't really
Yeah.
want it as much as the parent does.
Yeah. So what would you like recommend to
Yes.
a parent? Because like we've seen some very like spirited conversations on the baseball fields with these parents, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to hear.
And you can see the kiddo shutting down as the game's going on. So how do you navigate that? What do you do?
This is really hard.
I
Yeah.
know. Sorry.
No. I'm saying the situation.
Oh, okay.
Not the question. The situation is really hard because
Yeah.
what I'm going to say is probably like not going to,
Just say it.
might not be
Ellen,
liked
that's
by
why we brought
parents.
you on. We want the truth.
They need to, they need to check in with themselves.
Yeah.
You need to check in with yourself. Oftentimes their childhood self is showing up and they're projecting it on their kids.
Yeah.
And it's okay to recognize that and seek help. Work with a coach, work with a therapist,
You need to.
because it could be damaging. Like that story, it could be really damaging. Like I'm curious about the parents' relationship to being an athlete or sports.
Or just that the perfectionism
what's their
to be,
identity?
yeah, or just to
Yeah.
be perfect. That could be something that has nothing to do with sports related. It could be just the expectation of you have to be perfect at all times.
Yeah.
And that is reflected onto your own kids.
My soccer coach told me this, and it's just popping into my head right now. And this was my high school soccer coach. He said to me, always, our team, classy from start to finish. And that has stuck with me my whole life. So I want you to think about, listeners, what does that mean to you? And how could you model that to your kids?
Yeah. And everything you do.
Yeah. Life is not just about sports. Sports is not just about life. I don't know. I just mixed that up.
No, you're good.
No, it's great. It's great. It's
No,
great.
you're good. But that, I mean, it's hard to watch those situations, and we get told a lot of stories, and like
Yeah.
sometimes they're really bad horror stories. So I think sometimes people forget that there is help out there, and not only for your child but for yourself.
Mhm.
Now, do you sometimes ever do like families? Like maybe they're just is that kind of
Like a family therapy session?
like a family therapy? Like, hey,
Yeah.
the kid's having issues, and like, as a parent, what are some things you can do to help your child? Maybe it's, pumping the brakes and letting them just do it on their own, like stop being so controlling.
Totally. I have met with girls and their moms oftentimes. We could do family sessions, absolutely, but it's so important to see what's going on from like a big picture.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's like so much stems towards thoughts and feelings and behaviors, your environment, your parents, like what's going on, like how are they fueling themselves, what are their rituals. So it is very important to bring in parents when necessary. Absolutely. And I see it as like a team meeting.
A team meeting. I love that.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
say, a team meeting. I always try to break the stigma of like towards like mental health. I mean, it doesn't have to be this scary thing. It's just like more information and how could you train your mind like you train your body to develop more resilience and a better self-belief about yourself, and to work on your mindset and be confident, have that emotion regulation
Yeah.
that's going to
I think we
take
all
you
need that.
towards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all need that. I remember thinking of emotion regulation. I remember thinking, I'm sure you've seen the movie Inside Out, the Disney movie with all of the emotions. I remember there was a child
Yeah.
psychologist that at our daycare that was talking during COVID because a lot of the kids couldn't go to school and the kids were like losing their minds at home. And she was explaining how the different emotions in that movie will help, your kid. All they see is red. Like you need, as a parent, they haven't developed, the child hasn't developed fully yet, and the parents need to recognize that and just help calm the child down or just regulate those emotions and things like that. So you said that and I thought of the Inside Out movie because I'm a big fan of that movie and I figured
Yeah, everyone
it's
should watch
helpful.
that movie.
Yeah.
I got anxiety watching anxiety.
I started crying. I
Yeah.
was like, I can relate to her. It's crazy. It's a lot. It's crazy how your mindset is just so key to a lot of things. So we appreciate you sharing about that.
Yeah, and I did want to talk a little bit about like social media because I feel like there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there when people post like plays of their kids and sometimes they have like negative comments even when they're like signing maybe to like a D1 and this information has been brought out there. How do you see like the role of a therapist and performance coach evolving in the world of young athletes? Is this something that's been around for a while, or is this something that people are utilizing a little bit more?
I think within the past like 5 years, it's been utilized more, but now recently, especially after COVID, it's and seeing like the mental health struggles that were going on in COVID, especially like in athletes, especially collegiate level, um, it's it's brought out a lot more to seek like a performance coach or a therapist that specializes in sport and performance psychology and has that background. Social media is a tool, and it's a great tool. But sometimes, of course, there are negative benefits to it, too much. So it's knowing when to take a step back.
Yeah. That's, yeah, because it's all, everyone's comparing themselves or like to
Yeah.
the very beginning of our conversation, body image and, those filters and like all those expectations. It's hard for parents and for kiddos to process that. So,
Yeah. Is there anything that you think like parents should know today, or maybe like a mom, like something that you see that they need to maybe be more informative on, or
best word of advice.
yeah, best word of advice that you maybe have out there?
Just reinforcing the idea that worth is not tied down to performance.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset that could be harmful and lead to perfectionism and low self-esteem and burnout. As parents and as coaches listening, just it's important to communicate that success and self-worth are not tied together.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's huge.
I struggle with that.
I
Tying
think
your
everyone has their own
performance to
struggles, and I
success.
think it's
Yeah.
important, again, have those healthy conversations. I'm a huge fan of yours. I think that what you're doing is incredible. We'll probably hire you in the future, seriously. But no, I really do. I think it's great. I think those are healthy conversations, and again, we are so excited to have you on the podcast today to talk about it, and you've been so insightful with everything. I know our listeners are going to be reaching out and learning a lot.
Yeah, no, you have been excellent in just bringing so much light to what needs to be discussed. And it's a sensitive topic. Not everyone's comfortable talking about mental health, but Rachel and I both recognize that it's such an important role in not only our role as a mother, but also developing our kids and helping them grow into not just little athletes, but just little humans in general, right? So we think it's so important. So your knowledge and just everything that you brought today has been absolutely amazing. And we're so grateful for you. And thank you for your time today because it's been wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
This
so much.
was such a important and beautiful conversation, and I feel like I could talk to you ladies for hours.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Thank you. And can you
Thank
just
you.
give a little plug for yourself so that if people, we'll have it down in the comments below, but if someone does want to reach out to you, how can they get in contact with you? What's the best way?
Absolutely. So my website is mentallyfitwithellen.com. You could find me on Instagram, my website, on LinkedIn. Email me. I offer a 15-minute free call. I just want to get to know you and see if we're a good fit. And then we could see how we could work together. I work with moms. I work with dads. I work with families. I work with high school students, youth athletes, performers, even if you're not a physical athlete. Yeah, and I just want to inspire and impact and focus on how could we become mentally fit. Just like how often we focus on physical fitness, but what is mental fitness? And a part of that is everything we've just spoken about in this episode.
Yeah.
So if you're ready to level up, let me know.
We love that.
I love that. I love that. And we appreciate you so much. It really has been an absolute pleasure. And we look for some very big things for you in the future.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Ellin. Good luck with your half marathon coming up.
Thank you.
All right, friends, that wraps up our last episode. We are so excited that you are here. Thank you again for meeting us here every other week. We are so excited. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below. And we can be found at thesportsmomplaybook.com. Thanks, guys.
And now here is our mom highlight of the week with one of our MVP players. Enjoy.
What job would you like to do when you get older?
Like to be a baseball player.
A baseball player. What is your mom's favorite color?
Black.
What is your favorite food? What is her favorite food to cook?
Pasta.
What does she like to do in her free time?
She likes to hang out with us, with the family, and get some chores done.
What is one special thing your mom does for you?
She's always helpful every time when I need her.
What is a really important lesson your mom has taught you?
Never give up no matter what.
What is your favorite snack your mom packs for you for baseball?
The fruit packs.
What is your favorite thing to do with your mom?
We like to go swimming in a pool, and sometimes we watch a movie.
Can you tell me a story about a time your mom was really proud of you?
In T-ball, when I hit a bomber, when she gave me a fruit snack, she was really proud, and that's when I first got my scooter.
Who's your favorite baseball player?
I like Babe Ruth.
What can you hear your mom yelling in the stands at baseball games?
Hit with power no matter what. Get me in a box.
What is the one thing you wish your mom did more often?
Basically nothing. She's perfect.
If your mom could be any animal, what would your mom be and why?
A turtle, because she's always protecting me no matter what.
What is your mom's favorite holiday and why?
Oh, favorite holiday, Christmas.
And what makes your mom laugh?
Make my mom laugh. America's Home Funniest videos.
Perfect. Thanks, Grayson.
You're welcome. Bye.